Welcome
to yet
to
another
edition
scintillating edition of
But
That's Not Important right now.
We're going
Listen, I don't know how this is working because if it sounds as if both of us are having a stroke at the same time, we're just trying to get it in unison. So yeah, what is your freaking problem? What's that all about, Ian Reed? Oh God! Well, for those who came in late, to steal a line from a since bygone comic strip. For those who came in late, but that's not important right now. We deal specifically with ads and our experiences in the ad industry. My name is Jarrod Butts. I used to be, and he's Ian Reed, and we were in advertising for eons. At least it seemed like eons, but you were in advertising all along.
It's more and more getting further and further away.
Yeah,
it's
I know,
like,
right?
It's like you're seeing the island shrinking in the distance.
Yeah.
That's how it feels like. It's more and more every day that you realize, fuck, I haven't been working in an agency for so long. It's like wave bye-bye. Wave bye-bye to the,
It's been 7 years. No, that's not true. Actually, that's not true. It's been 7 years since I worked at that agency. And I worked in another agency, believe it or not, for about 3 months. This was like in 2017, early 2018. And then I went full back into my old stomping ground as a radio personality. So yeah.
But where were you? Where were you in 2018? Where did you go?
Okay, well, like I said, from December 2017 to February 2018, I was at the Buzz. I did some work
for the Buzz. Back. You went back to the Buzz.
I went back to the Buzz.
I didn't know that. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Okay. That's interesting.
So I was there for about 3 months, and then I was cooling my heels, which is a polite way of saying I did not have one shit to do. Which was tough, but yeah. And then I got into radio. So I went back into radio, yeah. And I've been in radio ever since, from 2018 to the present. Yes, I'm hosting the morning show on Platinum Hits 103.5 FM. If you have nothing else better to do, you can always listen to the show. Free entertainment, you get what you pay for it. That kind of
thing. I think a lot of people are stuck in traffic at that hour, or at least trying to avoid the traffic at that hour, and they are tuned into something. So we will encourage them to tune in from 6 in the morning and listen to you, because you do play good music. You're not, and it's not a lot of random talking. Dare I say, random talking and garbled. I could never understand what people are saying in the other stations.
Yeah, well, that is the fault. I think that lies with the fault of the programmers themselves.
Yeah.
They want to have people who they think they can relate to the average listener, and
Mm,
they figure that every listener thinks the same way, and that's just not so. I've
mm,
always said that what I do in particular, I mean, it's not for everybody,
mm,
but then I'm not trying to cater to everyone. I'm
mm,
just trying to cater to a special audience who
mm,
happens to like music,
mm.
good music, and if there's some sort of intelligent discourse as well, so much the better.
Yeah,
um, so it's all about edifying the audience,
yeah,
and it's all about talking with your audience, not talking down to them. And
yeah,
if there are people who
absolutely.
and if there are people who don't listen, and if there are people who don't like what we have to do, what we have to say,
Yeah,
it's fine. It's cool.
yeah,
You have
yeah,
so many other radio stations to listen to. You can always listen to those. You
yeah.
don't necessarily want to have to listen to us, but
Yeah,
we
absolutely. I
offer a
mean,
kind of alternative.
people have different music tastes at different
Yeah, they
different
have
time of the
different,
days,
and music taste is very subjective, as is the case with advertising.
Yeah,
You know that.
yeah, yeah,
So that's always been that kind of you know that's something
yeah,
that we've always had to deal with. I mean, on a daily basis.
yeah,
Some of the ads that we came up with, some were so out there, so not in keeping with what the client would want. They had to ask us, well, what the hell it is we were doing,
yeah,
and then we just have to sometimes we simply had to just eat humble pie and just say, well, okay, fine.
yeah,
We will, fashion it in such a way that this is what the client wants.
yeah,
And while we're on the subject of ads, particularly radio ads, because radio is my forte, as you know,
yeah,
writing radio ads and stuff. I find it extremely disconcerting, the kind of ads um, that I've been hearing lately.
yeah,
The actors don't sound very convincing, um, and there's no real. It's not like they're just saying it. They're not really in having fun
yeah,
doing what they're doing,
yeah.
and that element of fun is so sorely missing. But that is not
Absolutely.
important. That's not
No, that's
important.
not
But that's not
important, right?
important,
But
right?
actually, it is important in a way that it's 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 important because you're trying to do something, for something else.
Yeah.
You're trying to. So the barest bones of what advertising is to convince you to buy a product. I mean,
Hmm.
it's to
Pretty much it.
inform
Yeah.
you and to convince you that this is the reason why you should buy this product. And what has happened is a lot of it has turned into two camps. The camp of the what they call the analysis paralysis camp,
Hmm.
where the analysis paralysis camp, where you say, oh well, our studies show that people need to hear the words clearly, they need to hear the brand five, six times, the music needs to be this, that, that. And it's a
Okay.
formula they follow.
Yeah.
And if that formula isn't followed, then the ad won't be successful. So you say,
Correct.
okay, I spent $25,000 on this ad.
Hmm.
If it doesn't follow this formula exactly, I'm wasting my money. You see, that's one
Right.
side of the camp. And the other side of the camp, and it's not just radio, that's just advertising overall.
Yeah.
The other side of the camp is that we don't want to offend anyone. We don't want our brand associated with any sort of commerce or craziness or whatever.
Yeah.
So we will try to be as safe as possible. And if the from the time if you talk about radio ad, if the
Yeah.
radio ad person saying the radio ad is um, not controversial at all, he's safe, he's vanilla. He
Hmm.
speaks in a vanilla voice, which is why you always get the same what do you call it, the voice of God for the banks. What's his
Hmm.
name? Um, uh, Adrian Don Mora. Is it Adrian Don Mora?
Hmm.
Who's a bank
It used to be. It
voice?
used to be
Used to
Adrian
be.
Don Moore back then.
Yeah.
Used to
He
be.
used to say
You don't
he's the
hear.
voice of
Yeah.
God, because he had that kind of sonorous, kind of very,
Yeah. 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 He's the
official
kind of voice.
voice,
Yeah,
but it
because that's the
wasn't,
kind of
it
voice.
wasn't, like excitable. You know,
Yeah.
he wasn't there to excite you in anything. He was just there to not read you the news, but to make you informed that
Yeah.
at RBC Bank, we're the one for you. Wait, did I just mix?
You just mangled two of the taglines, and guess who's making a special appearance? There she is again.
Hello, fuzzy
Hi, Daisy.
pussy, fuzzy pussy.
Oh boy, she always does this.
You have a
This is
cute
getting to be
tail.
a bit
Yes.
of a habit now.
No,
It's
that's
getting to be a
good.
bit.
I love it.
Oh really? Okay.
There, look,
And
there
that
you
was
go.
just
It just
there's some
fur
fur
just falling
that just walked off there.
in.
That's one of the
Yeah,
many occasional hazards
doing this.
of doing this.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, coming back to the radio voice. So you put this kind of very safe vanilla voice saying very safe things.
Hmm.
And you know, it's easy to understand, it's clear, but it's devoid of any sort of interest, you know.
Right.
So you're informed, but whether or not you're actually convinced to buy it depends. I mean, Adrian Don Moro could not go and do a Buster ad, for example. It
No, I
just
mean
wouldn't work, you see.
the thing about it is as a about this is one of the many pitfalls of being a voiceover actor. I've always said that if you're gonna be good at what you do, you need to be like a vocal chameleon. And what do I mean when I say by being a vocal chameleon? You suit
Mhm.
your voice to the tenor of that particular ad. If you have to do a bank ad, of course you're going to sound reserved. Of course you're going to sound measured. Of course you're going to sound safe, quote unquote.
Mhm.
On the other hand, if you're doing a party ad, that's the exact opposite. You're not going to be
Mhm.
safe. You're just going to be all over
Yeah.
the voice. Your voice is going to be all over the place, and that's something that one has to keep in mind. Um, and it's something we don't really. I mean, I can't speak for others. I can't speak for other voiceover actors. I can't speak for radio announcers, but I can certainly speak for myself when I say that I've tried over the years, and I've been doing radio ads for over 30 years,
Yeah.
which just goes to show you how old I really am. I'm
Yeah.
ancient,
You're fucking
old like the
old
road.
man. Yeah.
So
You're
yeah, that's
Methuselah.
something. Yeah, I mean, it's a miracle whenever I talk, I mean, dust doesn't fly out of my mouth. But yeah, that's the sort of thing
Yeah.
that one has to take into consideration. You've got to be a vocal chameleon. You've got to be able to read a script, and you've got to make those words come alive. You've got to make those words mean something.
Yeah.
And in this day and age, there are very few people in this part of the world who can still read an ad and make it sound convincing.
Yeah.
But the problem with that is you can count them on the fingers of a badly mutilated hand. You don't have anybody saying, well, you can get, you always have a go-to voice, but you don't have a voice that can say and make you sit up and take notice. All the
Right.
voices are serviceable. All the voices are just something out of a cookie cutter assembly line, and they really
Yeah.
don't have any sort of particular impact on
Yeah.
what the listener is trying to say. But again, that is something that's another discussion for another time. I think, and as a matter of fact, I think we've discussed that ad infinitum on
Yeah.
other episodes, earlier episodes, if memory
And
serves me right.
we wanted to bring on one of our other friends, Ramon, who used to be a radio
Yeah,
producer, and
yeah,
he has a library of all his ads. So we wanted to bring him on to play some of them because unfortunately this show is very, what's the word? We do a lot of theory, but we don't actually do a lot of practice. So like I don't actually show an ad, or we don't
yeah,
actually listen to an ad because
yeah.
Zoom doesn't allow us to do this. But what we could do
It
is
should.
we could probably no, it won't let the audio through. I'll have to play
Oh,
it on the phone through the mic.
got it.
It will be
Okay,
a
cool.
pain. But what we could do is we could probably set up a time with Ramol, and he could play the different ads, and then I could
Right.
probably splice it in and edit it after.
Yeah.
So we could schedule a time for that in the next couple of weeks, to do that. Because I think a
Yeah.
lot of people we talk a lot about it around, like we talk around it, but we don't ever
Yeah.
get into it. And we don't talk about what makes a good radio ad or what makes a good um, TV ad or visual ad. We don't get into that. We don't actually show it. I mean, I can share my screen and show it, and we can put it up on YouTube. But it will be obviously difficult to talk about visuals in a radio podcast kind of format. But I mean, people
Yeah. Yeah. That
understand,
makes.
people understand or who do they listen in the car and so on. They're really interested in seeing visual stuff, but definitely we played some ads and we listen to them. I'm sure
Mhm.
you'll have a good old time. Now, last week, which is the episode that came out this Monday, has been very
Mhm.
successful. Our
Really
last
cool.
episode um, on Patrick Johnston's book, Heady Days,
Yes.
it got shared with um, Ken. Oh, what's his name? Ken.
Kenatau?
No, not Ken Attal.
Just
Um,
wondering.
eh, I apologize. I'm terrible with names. What is it that Brad Pitt has? Brad Pitt has a name problem where he sees the face but he can't remember the name. It's a psychological problem.
Yeah, I think so. I think I know what you're talking
Um,
about too. But right now the name of that it leads me at the moment. But I hear you. I understand. It's a it's a it's a lot more common than we think.
yeah, hold on. I'm
Yeah,
getting it.
you're getting it.
Um,
Just a minute.
Kenneth
Just
Scott.
a minute.
Ken Scott.
Ken Scott. That
Ken
name sounds
Scott
familiar.
left a comment. I will read the comments on the video that came out this Monday.
Yeah, let's hear
We
it.
got some good feedback.
Yeah.
So Robin Walker, Robin's Nest Radio
Ah,
says,
Robin Walker. Yes.
"Good morning, Jarrod and friends. I am listening as I go to my early morning appointment." And we said, "Thanks for listening," because we are cool that way.
Yeah,
And
Robin is really a fine. She's a radio personality. She has her own show as well,
yeah,
and
well,
it's in the States. Robin's
we,
Nest. So she's really cool. She's really
we
really cool.
really appreciate that. Thank you very much, Robin. I hope
Thanks,
you
Robin.
listen to us. Yeah. And then Ken says, "Truth well told." Well, for everybody in the business, that's the tagline, the most famous tagline for McCann Erickson. Truth well
Yeah.
told. Yeah.
Well, you know what?
So
You well said, right?
we said, Ken, if we want you to come on the show because
Yeah.
Ken is one of the old school guys like Quincy and all of us, But
Yeah. Yeah, we're very
Ken
much old
wasn't
school.
in our circles. Was in the competing agencies, so we never really had a
Yeah.
chance to ever interact with him. I think it would be great. So I
Right.
asked him if he would love to come, and he didn't respond. So Ken, if you listen to this episode, please do get in touch.
Yeah, we
We
would
could
love to
get
have you. Love to have you on
yeah.
board. As a guest star.
And then our friend Philip Alexis, as usual, says welcome back because we were on hiatus for 2 months for the vacation. So we
Yeah.
said thanks a lot. It's good to be back. So yeah,
Yeah.
it is good to be back. We kind of changed the format a little bit. We put music. No one has said anything about the music.
No one?
So we'll see our erectile dysfunction music continues. You heard it in the beginning, and I put a little bit of a piece of it at the end. Um, Again, if you think this music is terrible, absolutely terrible, let us know. But nobody seems to have commented on that. But
No, it's just the. Oh, come on.
yeah.
That's something. I
So
wish somebody would say something.
we had 63 views on YouTube, which is high for us because our stuff. Well, what
Yeah,
I
because
changed, I also changed that I was going to release YouTube on the same day as everything else because I
yeah,
realized people we reached that stage now where people we have a good enough following on YouTube, and
good.
we got a few.
Good.
We got about 15 or 16 plays so far on the
Nice.
episode. So I
All
mean,
right.
we are very very niche. We're very very
Niche.
niche
Niche.
We're very
Whatever.
very
Potato,
niche.
potato. Doesn't matter.
What's the name of the philosopher? Nishi.
Nietzsche.
We're very niche, right?
Nietzsche.
He's the one who's talked about the Superman, right? No.
He was the one who
No.
spoke about the myth of the Superman. That's right. That's correct.
Right.
Friedrich
Right.
Nietzsche. There you go.
Right. Where's Superman? Um, so
Oh boy.
what we're saying is that we have all of these things that we want to do before the end of the year. We
Yeah.
also want to do. We obviously want to go back and do another Halloween special. I'm looking forward to that one. But before we get there, this episode we want to kind of dive into casting for ads because that's a subject we haven't actually touched. We talked to Timmy Mora a little bit about it, and it actually came up in Patrick Johnstone's book.
Yeah.
It came up in his book. By the way, I have to come and pick up that book. I don't know when I can do that.
It's still there, languishing
Yeah, I have
in
to
the
pick it
desk.
up. Yeah, poor
Yeah.
thing. Patrick Johnson did mention something in his book Heady Days that um, something about the type of cast. Now we talked about the Protox ad. Remember we talked about the Protox ad that was shot, and they tried to make it look like this is West Indians, but it failed miserably because it couldn't
Yes.
get right. Well,
It
Patrick
did.
Johnson made mention to something like that, where he created an ad, or he shot an ad, and they had all these Venezuelans in the ad, and they looked nothing like Trinis. And he just said, no, we can't do this. We can't. And he had to get somebody there to find people in Venezuela who look like Trinis, and it was quite an experience. He also talked about shooting. What was it? It was a alcoholic beverage where the girls were wearing very skimpy clothes, and the
No,
clients.
it wasn't an alcoholic beverage at all. Actually, it was for a soft drink. It was for a diet soft
Right,
drink.
right.
It was for a diet soft drink. And the weird thing about it is they shot the ad in, of all places, in a church, which is kind of incongruous to the whole thing. I mean, you have a bunch of scantily clad ladies
Yeah,
in a house of worship wearing
yeah.
clothes that leave very little to the imagination.
Is that the one where they said that they couldn't see they didn't want to see the panty line, so they stripped off the bottoms and stripped
Yeah,
off the panties and put back on the skimpy bottoms?
that's the
Yeah,
one.
yeah,
That's the one.
yeah.
And I remember reading that and I was thinking to myself, holy God, pun intended. What were
Yeah,
you thinking?
but the thing is, that's one of the few times in that book, and we talked about it
Yeah,
last week. We
yeah.
we we talked about how it was death of these kind of, you know,
These
what's the
anecdotes,
word?
these anecdotal
Well,
experiences
not
that we.
anecdotes, but specific, you know, his opinion on the matter. And his opinion was, I think he had said he was very much interested to see how the client would deal with the client kept staring or something he had said. He made another
Yeah,
observation.
yeah,
Some of those things, you wanted a little bit more of that. Anyway, we dealt with that already, so we don't want to go back in it. But the reason I talk about that is because casting for these things, right, is important because you need to have a good producer and you need to have a good casting director. He also did mention that he did the Sunshine Snacks nuts with Jumbo, and his producer had to go up into the hills of Laventil to find Jumbo. And Jumbo, the first thing she said, Jumbo was high as a kite and said, hey, let me get married. Let me go and get married. No, we're going to get married now. And she had to beg off that proposition. But again, those kind of stories are interesting and important, and
yeah.
they're funny. If they were presented a little bit better,
I think
I would have been cracking
that
up.
was yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But what I'm saying is, you had to have somebody who understood the person, how they looked and how they could fit into the ad. You know, you can't just go and get some geek off the street and say,
You know,
hey,
yeah,
you know,
precisely,
you know, you know.
precisely.
Coming back to years and years and years ago, when Courts first came onto the scene, people who don't know, Courts is a furniture store, and they came out and they still come out with this kind of in your face kind of advertising where they had this
It's
idea
worked
that
quite well for them. It's worked quite well for
yeah,
them
yeah,
over the
it's
years.
it's it's almost been 30 years since Courts has been here.
It's been 30 years, over 30 years. They
And they've been
replaced Huggins.
consistent with their messaging. They've never changed their messaging. Now,
Not at
Courts in
all.
England is a very, very, very minor store, small, tiny, tiny, tiny store. Hardly does any advertising, doesn't do anything at all. But in Trinidad, they came out of the gate slamming.
Yeah.
We really will beat the price that you bring us. So you go to American stores, they have it. They have the culture of $5,000. We will sell it to you for two, and that nearly brought all these other people to their knees. I mean, we lost a bunch of furniture stores that have been around for donkeys years, like Couples and various other
Singer.
people, and Singer and so on. Incidentally, Singer bought Couples, or is it Couples by
Right.
Singer? One of them. And then
No,
the
I think
whole thing just closed down. Right? So it
they
doesn't
just
matter. But the point is, um, in the earlys, they used to use Errol Fabian and another guy, I
remember
forget his name,
Nigel Fabian. That was his brother, I think.
and he died.
He's still alive. Nigel's still very much alive.
Why did I think he died?
You
I'm
want to
sorry, I
kill
don't think.
people, Ian?
No,
What's
no, no.
wrong
There
with
was an
you?
actor. There was an actor who used to do it, who used to do ads. Maybe I'm mixing it up with Courts. But there was an actor who used to do ads, and he died. He was an actor, a very famous actor, and he died.
Well, lots of actors used to do ads in this country and have
No,
since
but I
and have
think
long
he
since
died of
passed.
AIDS. I think he had died of AIDS. Um, Young
Oh,
guy. He died very young. Either he died from AIDS or he committed suicide. I can't remember what.
there there was. I do remember there was this particular actor who did. He was very good as a mime,
Hmm,
and he did a whole slew of ads back in the day. And yes, he did. He did take his own life. That
yeah,
was pretty sad though.
yeah, it was
But no, I
shocking.
mean, yeah. Well, again, that is something. But that's something that again, I think we need to focus more on like you said, casting and so on, so
Yeah,
we can.
but the reason I brought it up is because Errol Fabian had this kind of manic, and his brother had this
Yeah,
kind of manic, crazy, almost
yeah,
over the top kind of
and that is what worked for them,
personalities. Huh? And that
and that's
works
what
for
worked
them.
for them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but they no longer use that kind of stuff anymore. They kind of calm down a little bit on that side. But in the beginning, it was hilarious. Some of the crap that they were doing. It was like we probably just let them do whatever they wanted.
yeah,
You got it's funny. But those are actors that you bring in to chill the company or whatever. If you're doing like if you're bringing in people to shoot an ad for press or for well now it's social media,
hmm
you kind of bring in somebody who represents the market.
yeah. Which is what they did. Which is what they did in the 2000s with Standards. And
Mm,
Standards, they had a particular. They brought in a particular comedian whose name I will not mention.
mm,
Yeah, she was extremely popular back in the day. She probably still is. And I was told from someone who actually worked during that campaign that she behaved like an absolute diva. She would
mm,
turn up for the shoot like about an hour or two late.
mm,
Sometimes she would fall asleep on the furniture, on the bed
mm,
itself,
mm,
and just be extremely difficult to people who were
mm,
working with her.
mm,
And when another campaign came up that later that same year, this was like about 2003, 2004, when another person replaced her for a particular occasion, they just loved her. They just loved this other person. She was
Mhm.
just so warm and accommodating,
Mhm.
and they did not have any problems with her whatsoever. And when
Mhm.
she came back, it was just, oh God, we have to deal with her again. Uh, oh God, not this woman again. Oh my God. And actually, they didn't say woman. They said things that I can't exactly bring myself to repeat.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
that's what happened there. And then there was the thing about it is we didn't. When I was working at the pre-buzz days, back also in 2004, we did something for we were working at Communications Insights,
Mhm.
and you remember CTC Comfort Zone, right?
Yep,
Right, CTC Comfort Zone.
yep.
In terms of casting, we did something for CTC Comfort Zone, and we came up with a campaign talking about three wise guys, not three wise men, but three wise guys,
Mhm.
and each and what happened was we found an actor we thought that could do all three roles, and it
Mhm.
wasn't me, it was somebody else,
Mhm.
and she had it displayed the same kind of diva mentality,
Mhm.
and until somebody had to take her aside and said, "Excuse me, we are not doing a Cecil B. DeMille production, okay? It is just it is just a silly little ad that we're doing.
Yeah,
You don't have to behave like that,
yeah,
you know." And she was threatening to walk off in a huff.
yeah,
And we just told her, well, if you have to go, then yeah, go, fine, no
yeah,
problem. And
yeah,
she just quieted down after that. She boiled down like Baji,
yeah.
and we did it, and no major hitches or anything. But yeah,
Mhm.
casting is important. Casting is important. I find too that in this day and age, when we cast people for ads, particularly print ads, we don't really look so much at the person's. I don't know about I can't speak for other places around the world, but at least in Trinidad, we don't really look, we don't focus too much on the person's ethnicity.
Mhm.
We really don't. I
Mhm.
mean, okay, if it is that you want something that's, if you want an ad that features ethnically diverse people, we get the ethnically diverse people.
Yeah.
And I remember too that in 2007, this is about 2007, 2008, McCann actually came up with an ad for Nissan.
Mhm.
Nissan featured an ad. In the ad, you had a couple, newly married couple, right?
Mhm.
Newly married couple, Indo-Trinidadian man.
Mhm.
His bride, Afro-Trinidadian woman. And I think, as I recall, I don't think anybody kicked up an unholy fuss about it. And I thought to myself, well, thank God, this is brilliant. This is
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah,
Love this. This is the kind, because that's the reality of life in Trinidad and Tobago. I mean,
yeah,
there are people who are gonna have relationships with people of different
yeah,
ethnic backgrounds. People are gonna marry, and that happens.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
been going on for
We're the great
decades,
melting
centuries.
pot here. We're the great melting pot,
We are.
aren't we?
That's why we have people of mixed ethnicities,
Yeah,
and that's a
we
beautiful
call,
thing.
for those of you listening who are not Trinidadian, we call them Dogo. We have a lot of Douglas.
Yes, we do. We have a lot of Douglas. We have a lot of people who are mixed with Indo and Afro, Indian
Yeah.
and Trini. I mean African. And that is par for the course. No big deal. Which is why I was so shocked that in 2022 we see an ad for a bank, but this time around we see an Afro Trini male, and his bride happens to be Indo Trini.
Yeah.
And some,
Let me see if I can pull up. Yeah. Go on, keep
you
going.
remember that? And some
Yeah.
letter writer is kicking up an unholy fuss saying that why are we doing this? I mean, something to the effect that
Hold on.
uh,
I got it.
yeah.
Let me see. Where is it?
Do you have it? Do you have the ad? There it
Let me see
is.
it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Bank ad on attack on black women.
on
Now
black women.
this is since September 5th. We wanted to talk about this before. So we said we'll just talk about it now before it leaves the
Yeah,
what you call it.
the space, the blogosphere,
This,
for one of better for
the collective
the
attention
headspace.
span. Yeah.
Yeah.
But um well, this is the image apparently. I don't know if this is the image from New York. Is this the image from New
It
York?
is. It
It
is.
is?
That's
It's a
the image.
social media ad.
It's a
Basically, it's a
social media
social
ad.
media campaign.
Yeah.
Now, this bank, I know who the agency is, right? And the agency prides itself on being, well, okay, let me be very careful about it. But what I say next, because I don't want to sound, you know, I don't want to sound a particular way. But what I'm saying, what
You don't want to be misconstrued.
I don't want to be misconstrued. I want to be clear. This agency made it its business to be the vehicle for Afro-Trinis to get ahead in business. You following? Because it's run by some very nice people, very cool guys. I've dealt with them before, we worked with them before, but they have made it their business to say, look, we are Afro-Chinese, we want to help our fellow Afro-Chinese. And that's not their focus in the business. They're not saying, well, we're only going to populate our agency without, no, that's not what we're saying at all. But their client is this client. So to see something like this, is I don't even think that they would even consider this being a problem. They would never consider this a problem, right? Now, years and years and years ago, just before we get into this, years ago, I suggested for Diwali ad.
Oh, okay.
Right? And I was half joking, and the client nearly had a conniption. I was suggesting that we have a couple with a Dogla guy, not Afro-Trinidad, Dogla guy, and an Indian woman in Indian garb with a deer and a mixed child. And he wanted to have a cow. He said, I'm gonna have a cow. He said, are you insane? You're gonna, but I'm like, but it only makes sense. This brand that you're selling, this brand is bought by both stratas. I'm like, you can't, you have to kind of, and this is where I think they were heading with this. They were like, also, people need to remember that a lot of this is, I don't think this is stock photography, right? I think they bought this image from somebody. This guy does look like a Trini. And they did that. So a couple of years ago, because this is a wedding ad, a couple of years ago, our bank client they had a bank account for when you have a wedding. You open the account so that people could then put money into the account, right? And to advertise that, the guy who was working at the bank at the time, he was kind of fairly high up. He was marrying a former, she's a friend of mine, she's a good friend of mine. She still is. She was a former Miss World. It was Miss World or Miss Universe, one of them.
Former Miss World contestant, right?
I'll tell you, you will remember who it is because Evander Holyfield took a shine to her during the pageant, right?
It's easy to understand why. She's very
she told me she's like, yeah, I was flattered and extremely disgusted at the same time. It's the weirdest feeling ever. Anyway, she said that they saw the photo of the early husband on his desk, and they asked him if he could use it in a campaign, and he said yes, and they put it in. And she is very light skin brown, but not. So what? Okay, so what we call it is a term that people use in Trinidad in the advertising agencies circles. They don't use it anymore. Let me just be clear, and this is
thank God for that.
And it sounds very racist, but it's like we say, okay, well, we just got a McCann Brown person, and it doesn't sound right, but it's trying to describe non-commitment to a race. Well, we can't have them too dark, but we can't have them too light, so we kind of get them in the middle. Okay, we are not being, we're not saying that is right or whatever. We're just saying that that's how it was.
That is how it was. Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
She fit that bill. She looked like that, and it was a very, very beautiful picture. And when I got the photo to put into the ad, I said, but I know this girl. This is my friend. So I call up. I say, what are you doing in the ad? She say, boy, we getting paid for it and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, long story, short and long story, they started using the photo longer than they were supposed to. And she started demanding more money from them. And they ended up buying a piece of stock photography and they used that instead afterwards. And she was quite happy. Years later. Anyway, it almost looks like this. Her photo almost looks like this. And she is fairly like the same kind of skin color as this girl. And he is a very douglarized looking guy, but he's dark. So he's not like, of this racial makeup, right? Now, nobody's batting an eyelid. Nobody's even thinking about this space at all. This ad appears, or the visual appears on social media, and what's the girl's name? Fatima Farah Muhammad Ali, whose name I find very familiar. I think I've read stuff from her before. Anyway, she kind of went to town and said, "Well, you don't want to. I don't want to read this out for everybody, but you could people who have not seen
She had
the
a
article."
problem. To cut a long story short, she had a problem with the ad. The ad bothered her from a
But
visual
it's not
perspective.
an ad. It's a campaign that's called Kurt and Alana's Love Story, because it's supposed to talk about wedding to buying a house, having a car, having kids, school, blah, 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 all of the things that you need loans for the bank, right? And essentially, she just kind of went to town saying that this is wrong, essentially. They should not be advertising people like this. And I think one of the, I'm going to unshare the screen because I don't want everybody to see. Stop sharing. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to read some of the comments because I saw it in one of the groups. And I was reading the comments today. And I think I want to bring this guy on. He's a friend of ours, or a friend of mine. Where is it? Edward Monsorin. I don't know if you know Eddie. Eddie Monsorin.
I know Eddie, yeah.
Right. So I want to bring Eddie on. Hi, Eddie. If you're listening.
Hey, Eddie.
I want to bring Eddie on to talk about some stuff, but generally the comment was, what is it that Eddie said? Eddie said so. I think the critique is idiotic and steeped in bigotry and fear-mongering. And I agree. Totally agree.
So do I.
It certainly has no place in a diversified, balanced society where we are free to think and do as we please. Because the idea is you bring in models and you cast models to represent the market that you're trying to attract. And this bank decided and the agency said, this is how we are going to attract. And something, who is it? Where is it? Somebody had made a comment about so the way social media and digital advertising works, and I've said this before many times, is that it's hyper targeted. So you could run 5 ads, right? You could run 5 ads. One ad has a Hindu wedding. One ad has a Muslim wedding. One ad has a Christian wedding with 2 Afro-Choles, and another Christian wedding with, when I say Christian,
Catholic, Protestant,
right.
Anglican.
So they're wearing suits and whatever, and they wear and they are 2 Indian-looking people, and then you could have white people. You could do that, and you could try to segment that way, but you actually can't, because Facebook says you cannot advertise to race. You see? But you can advertise to socioeconomic and geographic location. So what you do is you say, all right, what we'll do is we put what's the girl's name? Curran and who? Curran and
Alana?
Alana are very cosmopolitan. That is the east-west corridor city grouping. So that's the geographic location. You following?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Then you do another ad with another visual with a Hindu wedding, and you put that in the geographic location of Central. You understand what I'm saying? That is possible to do. Whether or not that is right to do, you know, people will be like, yeah, well, I only seen ads when I'm in Central. I am not an Indian, and I seen ads with only Indian people. But yet you see, you live in a geographic area where most of the people who live in that area tend to skew to that. So you try to make the visual appeal to the majority of the people that are in that geographic location, right? But we tend to not do that here. We tend to be like how we do for press ads, where we put like a kind of safe, what I call, I think what they try to do is create something safe, but obviously not, because if somebody like Fatima it's in this is bad or whatever,
But this is
you know,
this is the thing I don't get. This is the thing I don't get. We
mhm,
could put something. That reminds me of that meme that they would usually post on either Facebook or Twitter, just to show you that anything on social media can be controversial. Here's a picture of a rock. It's
yeah,
not a rock. It's a
yeah,
pebble, or
yeah,
something like
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah,
So no matter what you do, if you try to be safe in anything, you are going
yeah,
to take risks.
yeah,
It is about taking risks.
yeah, yeah,
Now, the beautiful thing about this, though, the beautiful thing about this ad, this social media campaign, is that it has generated far more awareness than it usually would, because people
yeah,
are now curious. They
yeah.
want to find out because
I didn't I didn't see the ad
yeah.
because
So what
I
did that?
think I'm
Yeah,
out of
exactly.
the age group.
I didn't see it
I'm out,
either.
I'm out of the age group, you see, because it's
Yeah,
it's directed to
it
20
doesn't fit
year
my
olds.
demographic. Right.
Yeah,
It doesn't fit my demographic either.
yeah,
So I would not have known. I wouldn't. There's no way I would have known about it.
yeah,
But the fact, what this letter writer has done unwittingly is that she has assisted in generating a lot more buzz, a lot more traction for this ad.
yeah,
So always remember, if you are going to criticize an ad, if you're going to criticize a campaign,
yeah,
you better talk a good game. You better back it up with something. But right now, as it is, it's just totally baseless.
yeah.
And
Years
furthermore, I mean,
ago, yeah,
yeah.
okay, go on.
No, furthermore, again, this should not even be up for discussion. Not in this day
Mm,
and age.
mm,
Not when more and more people of varying ethnicities are intermarrying and having kids, and it just doesn't fit in. I
yeah,
mean, this is a totally new generation, and when
yeah,
you're not gonna have and with every passing generation, with every succeeding generation, hopefully it doesn't become that much of an issue. But the older heads just don't seem to think that way, which is a pity. It really
yeah,
is.
yeah. Years ago, when we started doing advertising for TSTT, years ago, it was very, very clear who they were casting, who they were using as what we call influencers now, but it was basically,
Mm-hmm.
you know, um, what we used to call them in the old days. Uh, help me out here, Jarrod. Um,
Well, they were not. Well, they weren't known as influencers. They were just
spokespeople, what they call
spokespersons.
it,
Spokespersons.
spokespersons,
Yeah,
um, brand
that's what you had.
ambassadors, brand ambassadors. But they
That's
had
it.
specific people that they kept putting in the ads. And I think it was the Satan Dunbar app. Sorry, I can't pronounce that word. Sorry, John. The
What was that? The
Sat.
Snat and Dharma Mahasabha?
Here we go. Thank you. The
Mm-hmm.
Sat. I'm
The
sorry.
Snat and Dharma Mahasabha.
Very good. I think they
Yeah.
wrote a letter, because Sat Miraj is in charge of it, saying
Oh
that,
yeah.
we buy phones too, you know, and I think
Point.
over time,
Point.
over time, things started to change.
Yeah. You
We
had a
started to
point
put a
though.
little, because it's still a major part of it. So, yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, these things happen.
As
You do
as
make
you mentioned
constructive
that,
criticism. Yeah,
as you mentioned that, there was an ad campaign, and we were a part of it for the Green Network, and it featured exclusively soca singers, soca
yeah,
stars,
yeah.
right? It just so happened that a particular he wasn't a soca singer, he wasn't a soca star. He was more like a calypsonian. He won a calypso monarch title like a few years ago, several years ago.
Mhm.
And he was complaining, well, you guys don't, you guys don't, you don't ask us to go and advertise your product and
Yeah,
so on. Yeah, but you see, that's just it. You, people are not going to identify with you. The sad reality is they're just not going to identify with a traditional Calypsonian. They will identify
yeah,
with a soca singer.
yeah,
They will identify with Bungie. They will identify with
yeah,
Machelle.
yeah,
They will identify with people like Ricky Jai. They will identify with people like that. But
yeah,
you, on the other hand, you sing in traditional calypso, and not exactly the kind of calypso that really is memorable in any by any stretch of the imagination, except of course your one or two fans might think it is.
yeah,
And really, you're not going to generate that kind of traction. You just won't.
yeah,
And that's just a reality. That's just a reality that you have to accept.
yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
But yeah,
it is what it is. I mean, with a multicultural, multi-ethnic,
yeah.
multi-religious society as ours. I mean, the closest thing that you could get to this is way over down there, way over in Malaysia, Philippines, where they've got something fairly similar to us in the sense
Yes.
that but it's
Fiji even. Look at Fiji.
Fiji. There you go. I've heard Mauritius is like that too. There's a lot of
Yeah.
Chinese,
Yeah.
Indians, and but we seem to have this kind of um, way of dealing with things where people respect. We do have a very big respect for everybody else, and we kind
Hmm.
of do live well together. I mean, we don't have what they call it in Myanmar. What was the thing in Myanmar with the ethnic cleansing that went on
You mean
in
the ethnic cleansing that started?
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I
yeah.
remember that
We never
that
had anything
originated
like
in
that.
the former Yugoslavia back in the 90s. But yeah, I
Yeah,
hear you.
exactly. We never had anything like
We
that.
never
And
had anything like
knock
that.
wood,
Thank God.
I
We
don't
never
think
do.
that will ever happen here, knock wood.
Yeah.
Things would have to get pretty bad. But
Yeah.
again, coming back to advertising and casting and getting the right kind of people for the right ad for the market that you're selling to. It's important, you have to do it because there is a there is not a science, I wouldn't call it a science, but there's research behind it. And I always go back to when we were shooting the packaging for one of the clients, and this guy had his clipboard, and he was going down the list, and he says, the consumer report said we need to see more of this green seasoning than that green seasoning. It needs to be 20% less. And I'm like, serious? What is 20% less green seasoning? What is 20% less? You show me 20% less. And it was time, 20% less time. Like, what is that? It's like two scripts.
Hey,
It's like
no,
half
no,
the come
listen.
off.
Let me
What
tell
the
you.
fuck?
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Certain marketing people are just full of nothing but utter horse shit.
Yeah,
And 20% less season.
yeah.
It's
Things like that.
laughable. It's laughable.
So
It's laughable.
you say they need to be African, Afro Trini, but they need to be 80% less black. What?
Oh, you
No,
kidding
that
me?
never happened. That never happened. That never
Well,
happened. I
thank
just
God.
said
You've
that
been
never
waiting for a
happened. But
second. Yeah.
what I'm saying is the thought process is there. You may get that thought process. Like that man, that man is such a light and all you see in his eyes and his teeth. No. no, you can't have that. You know, you kind of go, dude, this advertising industry can be very racist. It can be, but in our experience working, I have never experienced that. I've never experienced people, you know, say, we can't use any too black. Nah,
Mhm.
never heard that in my life. Never, never,
I
never.
can,
Not,
I can, I
not even
can,
the
I can.
worst person
Yeah.
you know, has ever said that. Or we not hiring him because he's Indian. Nope, never,
Hmm.
never. Never heard of
Hmm.
a producer being told, instructed that way. Never, you know?
Okay. 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 I mean, again, but the thing about it is, that might not be the case here in Trinidad. Might not be the case, but in places like Jamaica, it's an entirely different story. Because what they
Yeah.
would do, is that they would, and this is a fact. They would hire. Well, this is back in the '80s. I don't know what it's like now. They would go and they would look for lighter skinned Afro Jamaicans
Mhm,
to
mhm,
advertise the high end product, the so-called high end
mhm,
products,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
And then on the other end of the scale, you would have dark skinned Afro Jamaicans
mhm,
to sponsor the so-called down market products.
mhm,
So, for
mhm.
example, if you wanted somebody to advertise a particular brand of stout,
Mhm.
you would look to the
Yeah,
working class, more
yeah.
dark skinned,
You put up the color thing in the Family
and
Guy. You just
yeah,
put up the color thing and say,
yeah, you know,
yeah, yeah, okay, you go.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You understand? And that to me was eye opening. So what you're saying that dark skinned, um, black people can't be upwardly mobile.
Yeah,
Dark skinned black people can't be articulate. What are
yeah,
you trying? What is the message you're trying? What is the kind of hidden message that you're trying to convey here?
yeah, yeah,
And I
yeah.
could never understand that. I could
But
never
it's
ever understand
funny
that.
because you always get the request to
Hmm.
go on the stock media site, Shutterstock, Getty, whatever it is,
Hmm.
and look for African American on a beach on vacation.
Hmm.
And what you get is, and I'm sorry, this is the reality. You could go and search on any of the stock sites.
Hmm.
The first 5 or 6 um, results that come up inevitably will be a black guy serving a cocktail on the beach
Oh no!
because the keywords are vacation, drinking a cocktail or
Oh
whatever,
my goodness! Well, that's the fault of the
black guy,
folks behind the
right?
search engine.
Right,
That's the
right.
fault. That's the fault of the
So,
people behind the search
but
engine.
then you
That's
search,
wrong.
then
That's
no, but
very wrong.
then you search, um, African American couple buying new home or
Okay.
renovating new home,
Okay.
and inevitably you'd see an African American and a white woman in a state of cleaning the house or whatever, or the reverse, a white woman, a white guy, and a red brownish looking girl,
A
you
light
know,
skinned black girl.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you know,
Oh my God.
yeah. So
No, well,
we
you see,
raised the issue. We
yeah,
raised the issue with Shutterstock one year when they
yeah.
came, and she's basically said, she said, I apologize if you all think that we're doing this on purpose. We are not. Our library consists of what photographers submit and what they put as
Wow.
the keywords.
Right.
So if you guys in Trinidad and Tobago want to see a black guy, sorry, an Afro Trini, African American, whatever, sitting
Hmm.
on the beach in a cocktail, drinking a cocktail, right? You need to supply that photo. You need to create that photo and put it in the library.
So, okay, fine. Then that if that is what has to be done, then let's do that. Let's do
Yeah,
that.
but
Let's
nobody is
to.
buying it. So nobody wants to go and spend the money to do that. We've had
Oh,
all
that's
these discussions
bullshit.
before. No, I'm telling you,
Wow.
because Mark Lindsay has had this discussion before, that
Yeah.
what you have to do is you have to create an entire library of this one actor guy doing various things that Trinis would be doing. You have to pay the man, you have to buy out himself, you have to be able to pay for all the equipment and lighting, studio time, all the producer, the makeup artist, all those things, just so you can put it on Shutterstock and get pennies on the sale of the photo. It's not worth it.
Wow.
It's not worth the photographer's time and resources.
Whoa.
It's not going to make them money to do that.
That is something that is wow.
So that's where the problem is. So when people say, why Shutterstock do so more Trinis doing Trini things? You can't, because people are not putting that stuff up there. The photographers aren't doing it. Anyway, that is a discussion.
Yeah.
That's a larger, bigger discussion. But to come back to the client requesting this particular photo, and you're getting that photo, no matter how hard you search, no matter where you go, you're getting, laughing girl and Afro-American painting in a fun time. And you're like, yeah, but that doesn't represent,
of course.
Yeah, But then the flip side of it, and this is my argument, is that Trinidad has become so exposed to outside because of recent internet and all this kind of thing. I don't think it really matters. Again, coming back to what we said in the beginning, nobody batted an eyelid to see an Indian girl and a black guy getting married. Nobody said anything. This girl come up and start saying something.
Yeah.
If you see an image of a white woman and a black guy painting a house in a stock photography image, advertising something on Facebook, you're not going to write a letter to the papers and say, or you're going to dislike the photo or whatever. You might comment and say, yeah, well, this don't represent me. But at the end of the day, it has achieved its goal. As you said, it actually made people,
want to look at the ad, want to check out the ad and find out what the fuss is all about.
Yeah.
Because that's what you're doing. That's what you're in. That is what you inadvertently, maybe you didn't set out to do that, but that's what you've done anyway.
Yeah.
And you would think that the person who wrote the letter would be perceptive enough to say that, to think that.
Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. I think it's free country, free speech.
No, absolutely. You're entitled to your opinion,
and I think she has raised some interesting ideas and thing. And I think agencies, what agencies that are left, need to be cognizant of that. But right now, people are you could go in Facebook and create an ad just using stock photography. And that's cheap, and that's free. The stock photography in Facebook to create an ad is free. So I could go on Facebook, I could create an ad, I could pull 5, 6 images that relate to the subject matter that I want, and I just run the ads. And which image does better, I put more money into that and create more ads that look like that image. And that's how you go, and that's the science behind it. That's what you do. So just quickly before we go, when we were at the bank, the last thing we were trying to do from the bank was come up with visuals for their online campaign. And we weren't getting it. And what the digital guy kept saying was, a woman holding a key, regardless of whatever race they are, the woman holding the key in front of the car is the image that we want. We don't want any kind of creative image of a woman running after a car or picking up a car or looking like a superwoman. No. We just want a woman holding a key in front of the car. That is the image that has been clicked 10,000 times in our experience. That is the image that will work.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Yeah.
So much for the trying to go creative, because the creative director was just having a cup. No, but it's not interesting. It's not separating you from the rest of the competition. It's like, that doesn't matter to us. We're getting the clicks. Once I get the clicks, 25% of my job is done. I take it from there. Whatever they click to, I then start giving them information. And then they move to the rest of it. And if they call, fill out a form or whatever, Which is why I was telling my lingerie client, a couple of years ago. I said, you need to do photography with more local looking girls. And she said, yes, I know I have to do that, but money and blah, blah, blah. I said, I'm pretty sure you're gonna find women who be willing to just do it. Just saying, you will find women who would do it. But
Yeah.
but one of the other things that I discovered is that a lot of her clientele are plus size women. And that's what does most of the sales. But a lot of the ads that she was running, or a lot of things that she was running, didn't have those kind of women, being represented. And she had to go and look for that kind of imagery and whatever. So, I mean, it's difficult, but it's not impossible. But at the same time, there's a line that you can't cross. There's a line.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's the way the cookie crumbles.
That's good.
For now.
So I like a t-shirt. I just wanted to mention.
Oh, thanks.
I know that t-shirt very well.
Do you?
Yeah, show the people your t-shirt.
Oh yes, this is the Tweet TNT. Yeah,
right?
from
that
BP. Yeah.
that
BPTT.
that bird was designed by our friend Crystal Leakin. I think
Crystal. Yes, I remember Crystal Leakin.
That was our concept and our idea for our first ever viral campaign that went viral.
Yeah. Remember that.
TNT.
Yeah.
Right. So what are we defining?
What is casting?
I don't know, Jarrod. What is casting?
Casting is the process by which you look for somebody who you think will fit the bill in terms of highlighting your product and selling it to the hilt and making money for, well, ultimately the folks who happen to be, posting the product or selling the product. But that's not important right now. What is that?
I'm going on the scale of the color, but that's not important right now.
You're gonna get into trouble, not me. I had nothing to do with that. You like the trip fire. You like trouble. You go ahead.
Like, terrorist, not terrorist. By the way, this is my coaster that I sent out to my clients for Christmas.
Got it. Okay. Great.
The only problem is nobody using Zoom anymore. So it's kind of easy. But that's all right.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for listening.
This week.
Yes.
Please share, like, subscribe, all that stuff. If you'd like to contribute, what we would like to do, if you'd like to contribute, there's a link down below. What we like to do is we would like to do next week, we'd like to do something a little more in person. So Jarrod and I will be together on screen. What's the name of the place what was the name of the restaurant?
Tabor House.
Tabor
House, yeah.
Tabor House. Yeah. So we'll probably go to Tabor House maybe next week, Wednesday, or one of those days and see if we could do a show. Yeah, maybe we'll probably put it on live. Cool. Probably put it on live on YouTube because I think YouTube will be a better attempt at getting more listeners. But please do share and tell everybody. And absolutely have a great week.
Have a great week, guys.
I hope you all don't get too stressed out in traffic. But do listen to Jarrod. He will definitely get you where you are without losing too much of your hair, like Jarrod.
Stuff happens.
Mr. Walter White. Heisenberg. You need the hat. You need the hat.
Yeah, I know. I need that. Yeah. Gosh.
All right. Anything else you want to say, Jarrod, before we go?
No, we're good. We're good for now. All right. Thanks
a lot, guys. We'll see you all later.
Thank you. Later.